What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video where in this one, we're going to take a little look back, right? We have guys that are coming up on the last year of their rookie contract. So I want to look back and kind of grade the 2022 draft and kind of talk about as we go through, should we re-sign these guys? Now, looking at the cap in the future and really looking into that is going to be something that we do at a later date. But I do think getting this conversation started is exactly what we need to do because this was a decent draft class for not having a first round pick. This was a fairly big draft class, at least a little bigger than having 7 picks, right? So going through here, and there's some names. Looking through here quickly, most of these names still on the roster. So again, we didn't have a first round pick, if I'm not mistaken. It is from the Carson Wentz trade. I'm pretty sure that's the case here. So no first round pick in 2022. So our first pick came second round, pick 53, where we get Cincinnati wide receiver Alec Pierce. And this is going to be such an interesting conversation. I think a lot of that conversation has to do with what happens this year. If one of the quarterbacks balls out, then Alec Pierce is likely going to ball out. But it's also, at what point do you unleash A.D. Mitchell, right? You drafted a guy with insane potential, right? Insane potential. So would the move be try to find a way to trade Michael Pittman Jr., right? Or what? I think he's coming off on the last year of his deal. There's probably no guaranteed money. I haven't looked into that situation, but there's probably a way where they drop him, pay Alec Pierce, wide receiver 2 money. A.D. Mitchell takes over wide receiver 1. Is that the way they would go? Then you have Josh Downs at some point along the way. Again, we'll look into the future, but Alec Pierce, when you look at his career, it's really hard to judge, even at this point. If he has consistent quarterback play, he's probably incredible. But there is also the element where he's very clearly gotten better from year to year at different things. He came in, we knew he was just a go ball guy, right? So coming in, we didn't expect a lot. He's always produced a big play. He still does that. His coordination has gotten better. He used to like catch the ball and fall down. He actually can run with the ball in his hands now. Feel like he's gotten that part of his game taken care of, but somebody who's becoming more rounded in everything. He's worked with Reggie Wayne his entire career and continuing to get better. The competition bringing A.D. Mitchell and continuing to help him get better. So looking at Alec Pierce, man, it's going to be hard to see, are we going to be able to re-sign him? Do we re-sign him? It's hard to say. It's hard to judge and grade where he's really at this point. But I think from what we saw last year, if you give him good quarterback play, like he's a guy that could end up being like an A grade. You get in a guy 53rd overall, and he could develop like the potential for Alec Pierce is like best wide receiver 2 in the league, bottom tier wide receiver 1. Like he has that potential, right? Will he ever reach that? That's the question. So I think giving him maybe a B minus. C plus seems a little harsh. B minus, and maybe I'm lofting him a little bit because quarterback play has been an issue through his career. But somebody who I think is rounding into somebody who can be a special talent. His knack for big plays, we see it all the time. He can go up and get balls. Like this is somebody. Alec Pierce has gotten really good. So I think B minus is a good grade with consistent quarterback play. That grade could bump up to an A minus. Like I really wouldn't be surprised. But I think B minus, C plus, somewhere in that range, depending on quarterback play, of course. Third round, 73rd overall in the 2022 draft, we drafted Galani Woods. So far, this is a massive F. I believe he has, 4 touchdowns his rookie year, but of course the injuries have been a massive issue. We haven't been able to see him on the field. Supposed to be somebody who comes in and is really physical at tight end and can make the big plays and be a reliable weapon for the quarterback. And so far, that has not happened. This is a massive F for Jelani Woods, and unless he does anything, now we have Tyler Warren. So after this year, probably not going to re-sign him if I had to guess. I guess it would depend if he can stay healthy and he's a good blocker. Maybe we keep him. and Mo Alley Cox goes somewhere else, or Mo Alley Cox feels like he's probably going to retire at Cole. I think that's probably how that's going to work out. But then again, third round, just a couple picks later at 77, Central Michigan offensive tackle Bernard Raymond. Bernie is a guy that we have to pay. Like when you look at the upcoming offseason, what we have going on. I mean, I guess I could look at other left tackles that are going to be available in 2026. So that's something that we'll do. But it just feels like he continues to get, he came in, he wasn't like terrible as a rookie, made some mistakes. He wasn't great. Played some really good edge rushers in his rookie year. I just remember vividly some really good edge rushers that season that he had to go up against. And even in 2023, he had to go up against a bunch of really good edge rushers. Seems like that's more often than not, especially with Houston getting better there. Tennessee's been good up front for a while. So, a lot in the division. Of course, Josh Hines-Allen over there in Jacksonville. So, Bernie, he's had a tall task his entire time here, but playing all those edge rushers, he continues to get better. So, a guy that, in my opinion, definitely needs to get paid in the future, and a guy that, if we're putting a grade on Bernie at this point, I'm going to say B+. I'm going to say he came in low expectations, and he's exceeded expectations. I think last year was a really good year for him. Again, not squeaky clean. And you're going to have that when you're facing some of the best, right? You live in the paint, you're going to get dunked on. But for Bernie, man, I thought he did really well last year. I think he continues to get better year after year. So that draft pick, again, third round, 77 overall. Go ahead, give me a B+ for Bernie. Third round pick, 96th overall. This is where we get Maryland safety Nick Cross, who of course needed to mature. And of course, Gus Bradley didn't always play his best guys, right? Because he's doing things like we need to let him mature. Come on, dude. So Nick Cross finally gets on the field. Again, for him, not squeaky clean, but with his first time really getting a good amount of playing time out there. And being in that defense, like I thought he did good. He had a bunch of tackles, so he did a really good job of keeping himself around the ball throughout the season. Letting the stuff go over the top, right? Continuing to learn and continuing to get better as a safety. He's got Cam Bynum now, really good secondary guy. Nick Cross, was kind of under Stephon Gilmore's wing when Gilmore was here in his rookie year. So, like I feel like Nick Cross, you could give him. He's only really played 1 year, which kind of caps him. So he's another guy. Give me B-. I think the talent's there. What we saw on the field is going to be was good, and I think what we're going to see this year in a new defense and in the position that he's going to be put in, I think he's going to be able to excel in that. And I think he's going to be a massive part of the defense, as we talked a few videos ago about the three most important players on the defense. Nick Cross was one of them, right? So I think he's going to be huge. And going into this year, even because he played one season, you could say C, right? Give him a C. But I think he played well last year. B- for me for that pick. Then you have fifth round, 159th overall, defensive tackle Eric Johnson. He's been a decent depth piece for fifth round. Getting a depth piece at D tackle. This is maybe like a C- for Eric Johnson, D+, something like that, right? A guy that it's a fifth round pick. And there wasn't a whole lot of expectations. He hasn't been able to get on the field because of who we have at the top of that depth chart. So don't expect much. So I don't want to. So let's go ahead and give him a C. Let's go ahead and give the Colts a C grade for Eric Johnson. It's like what'd you really expect when you have DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart, right? You were just hoping to add depth. They did that, and he's a decent depth piece. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad player at all. For what he needs to do as a depth piece on the defensive line, I think he's effective. Then you go to the sixth round, where we get Youngstown State tight end Andrew Ogletree, right? And of course, Ogletree has had his different injuries, had his legal issue. Overall, he's a really good blocking tight end. Sometimes he gets the ball in his hands and he can make plays, and of course, he's a big body. Seems like he's a locker room guy. For sixth round, I'd say Ogletree, maybe a C plus. I think C plus is pretty fair. Again, what he provides in the run game, very important. Like if you go back and watch the film and in this upcoming season, if you just watch Mo Cox, Andrew Ogletree, those are generally the guys on the field when it's time to run, and Andrew Ogletree moves bodies and takes a lot of pride in it, right? Really physical tight end, so C plus for that pick. Then you have Cincinnati defensive tackle Curtis Brooks. And for this one, he's not even on the team anymore, so this is a non-grade. It was a good story coming out, right? Alec Pierce and Curtis Brooks reuniting on the Colts, but that was not long-lived at all. And then in 7th round, 239th overall, Yale cornerback Rodney Thomas II, who, of course, we switched to safety. And, of course, he's had to play due to depth issues and injuries. Rodney Thomas finds his way on the field. Not always pretty. He made a couple of plays, got some interceptions in his career, but ultimately falling on the depth chart and expect that to continue. Go and give him a C, right? Commendable for what he did. 7th round pick, not expected to do a whole lot, but came in and was put into a situation, not a great situation, with the way that defense was, and put into a tough situation, switching positions. So even go ahead, give him a C plus. I'll just be nice, give him a C plus. Really just at the end of the day wasn't working out. Will he find a role with us at some point? Will he find a role with another team at some point? And what's his future going to be in the NFL? Who knows? But seemingly, again, falling on the depth chart, Nick Cross, Cam Bynum, those are the guys. So maybe if one of those guys gets hurt, maybe Rodney Thomas gets thrusted back in. We'll see. So again, C plus for him. And overall, right, if we're going to grade this draft as a whole, right, Alec Pierce, Galani Woods, Bernie, Nick Cross, Eric Johnson, Andrew Ogletree, Rodney Thomas. This isn't a terrible draft. Looking back on it, these guys coming into the last year of their rookie deals, I think overall, I'm going to go ahead and give this as of right now, before the 2025 season, I'm going to give this a C plus. Okay, I think C would be average, right? Slightly above average. Bernie could be a cornerstone left tackle for us for his whole career. Nick Cross, if he balls out in this defense and we continue to see him make plays, his grade bumps up, and that bumps everything up. Alec Pierce, and what we see this year, does he get consistent quarterback play? That could bump up. Jelani Woods, if he stays healthy and can make plays and be effective in the pass game and in the run game, he could bump up. Andrew Ogletree seems like a pretty steady. We know what we're going to get from him. And then Rodney Thomas. So after 2025, when you look back at this draft class, 2022 draft class, after the 2025 season, it could be interesting. We could be looking at a B graded draft class. Alec Pierce, Bernie, Nick Cross as the 3 top guys. Then you just throw in Jelani Woods, Eric Johnson, Andrew Ogletree, Rodney Thomas as depth pieces that have had to be on the field at different points. Like overall, I think pretty good draft here by Chris Ballard. When you really look at this draft, this draft was, for the current team we have, this draft was important for building some of the core pieces that we have. Right, when you talk about around the quarterback, wide receiver, 2 tight ends, and a left tackle. When you look at the defense, especially this defense, Lou Anarumo, Nick Cross, again, I think he's going to be massive in this defense. I think both the safeties are going to be big-time contributors. And so Nick Cross, right, him continuing to get better. Right, so pretty good job here building the core of this team. Good run blocking, tight end, and Andrew Ogletree. So overall, pretty good by Chris Ballard. But I think a lot of people are going to be in the comments saying, well, Chris Ballard is pretty good at drafting, but doesn't draft like high-end talent. I do think the narrative on that is also shifting. Alec Pierce and Nick Cross could be testaments to that. A.D. Mitchell, Josh Downs, those guys, Tyler Warren, I think we're starting to see like the flashy areas of football, the ones where you need playmakers, where Chris Ballard and his guys are starting to nail those down, in my opinion. So, and of course, we're going to do this again next year, right? For the 2023 draft, those guys going into their last season of their rookie deal, and we'll do that whole song and dance. But of course, I want to know what your guys' opinion is. This is a 2022 draft class, and all the guys we talked about. What's your grade for that draft class going into the 2025 season for what we have and what you expect from you? Let me know down in the comment section. Love to hear what you guys think on this topic. And of course, if you enjoy the content, make sure to hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you continue to get notified anytime we drop any content on this channel. Of course, I appreciate you so much for stopping by for another video. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.